Greetings, sirs and madams. I'm Seraphic Zero, and yeah, I'm late. Sorry, I'm old and there's stuff going on. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the PvP showcase that we had last Friday. And yeah, I am late because there's already reviews coming out for Armored Core 6. So yeah, I'm just gonna give some really quick thoughts on this. Yeah, I'm not gonna go too in-depth about it because obviously this showcase was done, just using a very, very small group of players and a very, very limited set of parts. And just so you guys know, most of the depth of Armored Core PvP comes from the huge number of parts and customization you can do. So I believe they were limited to only Chapter 1 parts, so so this is a very, very limited selection of customization they had access to. So yeah, we're definitely going to take all this with a grain of salt. So from what we know, so Chapter 1's about 20% of the game, and then there's also new parts you can unlock in post-game. So for those of us that have played Armored Core before and really love the series, we know that an Armored Core game doesn't start until you unlock all the parts. So yeah, this is just a very, very brief and shallow glimpse into what the PvP is going to be like. Personally, I don't have too much of a dog in this fight, I guess, because I don't really play Armored Core for the PvP. I dabble in it sometimes just to, for fun. But yeah, I mostly just tinker in the garage, and I like goofing around in the single player mode just to see what type of stupid stuff I can break. But yeah, so this doesn't really affect me much, but in a sense, the mechanics of PvP will affect my single player experience because it's the same mechanics in the single player, in the AC versus AC battles. So we're gonna be affected by the same stuff there. And then, yeah, I want you guys to keep in mind, yeah, this is a modern game, and FromSoftware will release balance patches. For Armored Core games, these are called regulation patches, and we had those way the hell back on PS3. So yeah, both Armored Core 4 Answer and I think Gen 5 had a few of them too. And yeah, the regulation patches, they do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, there's even a patch in Armored Core 4 Answer that gave you infinite energy and infinite ammo for no reason. I guess they just wanted you to be able to dig around, if you switched those to that patch. But yeah, they do all kinds of things. And they rebalance the game for PvP and single player, and yeah, so yeah, I guess welcome to 10 years ago. So yeah, I don't think you guys should worry about balance too much. Okay, so my initial impressions of this PvP, of course, there are two different modes. They mostly showed the 3v3 and 1 or 2 rounds of 1v1, and yeah, the gameplay looks very frantic, especially once everybody gets into close range. I want everyone to keep in mind that they don't have access to everything. Notably, what's missing is sniper rifles and super long range weapons. So obviously those types of builds will want to play keep away, and there just weirdly wasn't a lot of that showcased. So yeah, because of that, the proximity of the matches we saw, it was just extremely frantic pacing of the battles. And yeah, I'll say I didn't really have a lot of fun watching these matches. Normally Armored Core matches are very interesting to watch because there's a lot of depth to them. There's a lot of maneuvering and fighting for positioning, who can control their camera better, who can manage their energy better, who has the most interesting weapon set, who's got better mobility, who's got better armor, just all that type of stuff. And a bit of that's present here, but Mostly it seems to be like, hey, I'm gonna get in range, I'm gonna stay locked on you, because I don't know, the lock-on seems very, very strong, like, in this game. And then everyone just lets weapons, like, just go crazy. Like, pretty much the the gameplay here is just who can vomit out the most damage, which, you know, when we were suspecting that the game had a hard lock, that was kind of the concern, like, the game's just gonna turn into a DPS race. Of course, you know, they're still dodging, they're still fighting for verticality, that type of stuff, and then, you know, your lock-on, you can only really shoot at one guy at a time, you know, unless you're using multi-lock missiles or something like that. But, yeah, like, I will say the gameplay looks a little more shallow compared to the older games, and, yeah, the pacing is a lot faster. Like, even though, like, the literal speed is lower than For Answer, I will say For Answer, like, you spent a lot of time maneuvering and picking targets and getting them in your sights and stuff like that, but that doesn't really exist anymore. Hopefully there will be a little bit more of that when, you know, we diversify our ranges a little bit, when we, you know, unlock more parts. So, yeah, let's talk about that lock-on a little bit. Like, I will refrain from saying this is the final word on all that, because, you know, like, this could very well be patched, like, I have no idea. And also, the quality of the footage of the stream was just not very good. So, like, just visually, I can't always tell, like, hey, when is somebody using hard lock and soft lock? And I know there are visual indicators of that, but just the visuals are so frantic, and there's just explosions going off everywhere and grainy footage. Like, I will not really use this as concrete evidence of stuff. I'm gonna wait when I get my own hands on the game, which will be just a few days. so yeah. But yeah, like, so they keep saying that hard lock can be broken, and like, I did see some instances of lock being broken, but I really wasn't sure which type was being broken. Obviously, soft lock can be broken, but hard lock, they say, can be broken by very high movement speed, but whose movement speed? Your speed? Or your target's speed? Or your relative speed? Like, it just... they're really... I couldn't really spot any clear examples. I'm sure you guys have a few in your pockets, but maybe it's not even worth discussing right now. I will say, though, that regardless of the lock type, whenever lock is broken, like in the PvP showcase, the lock is very easily reacquired instantly. So it's almost like lock breaking doesn't even matter. And, you know, like, of course, lock can also be broken by distance, I believe, and maybe even cover sometimes. Although, like, there are very clear instances where people are locked onto stuff, and then, you know, they go behind cover, and then the lock just stays. So, yeah, hard lock seems very hard. I know there is an accuracy reduction. Like, I always knew about that, and, you know, the accuracy of the weapons was never my argument, because of course, like, hard lock doesn't guarantee your attacks will land. Like, that was never... I don't think that was ever anyone's argument. The veterans were just concerned about hard lock completely controlling your camera, and there really won't be much repositioning in PvP, which, from what we see, yeah, I don't know, that seems to be true. But, you know, we're waiting for more parts and more diversity. Okay, so let's talk about some of the builds here. I think the favorite one I saw here was the quad running all laser rifles and laser cannons. That was just really fun to watch. Like, just watching all those beams being vomited downrange was, like, really neat, and it was really nice seeing how effective, like, that build was. That was cool. Yeah, quads seem very strong, and there didn't seem to be a lot of counters for them. Like, anti-air seems a little difficult in Armored Core 6. What would be the anti-air tools in a lot of the other games? well, in theory, just sniper rifles, because, flying out of cover is not very good. And then missiles, of course, but not a lot of ground pounders seem to be using missiles in the PvP showcase we saw. So I would be really curious to see like what are effective anti-air tools in Armored Core 6. So we'll have to find that out, because that didn't really seem to exist like in the showcase that we were shown. I will say that lightweight, high mobility builds seem to be at a pretty strong disadvantage from what we saw in the showcase. I really hope this changes, because that's kind of how I main. But, maybe I'll just have to change. But, I've been kind of using the same kinds of builds. Like, I tend to go medium build, like high volume of fire type of stuff, ever since Armored Core 2. But, yeah, so your high mobility, like lighter weight, like light to mid, like bipeds, they seem to get completely vaporized. Like, if they get staggered, they can get vaporized in just 2 or 3 hits. Like 100% to 0. They're just gone. And that's not to say, like, tankier builds, like, tank treads. Like, they can get destroyed by having their stagger meter, like, broken too. Like, when they get stance broken, like, they can get really severely damaged, or they can get completely destroyed if you got a whole team focusing on them. But getting brought from 100% to 0 in 5 or 6 hits versus 2 or 3, that's significant. Yeah, so yeah, like, I'm seeing a lot of disadvantages to using high mobility, and because of the strong hard lock, there's kind of less of an advantage to having that high mobility, because the tanks, they can just spin at their waist. Like, you'll never blindside them, like, ever. So yeah, I don't know, like, tanks can kind of spin fast in Armored Core 5 if they sit still, but they can't like completely destroy you, like, as you approach them. So like the anti-tank tools in Armored Core in Gen 5 was, you would just flank a tank and then stick a pile driver in him, and that would basically one-shot him almost. So that would, reward you for having higher mobility and positioning. So yeah, like, I guess we're waiting to see what anti-tank tools exist in this game. I suspect that tool will be the chainsaw. But yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, speaking of melee, melee with combos doesn't seem to work very well. Of course, it'll do damage when you have somebody already staggered, but when somebody is moving, even while their stance broken, like their meter is red, if they have the ability to move, it looks like the tracking on your melee combo is not very good. Your second hit or anything after the first hit will probably not land. It looks like for combo attacks, people can just walk out of the way, which that seems like a real waste. You know what I mean? So maybe we can get better distance closing or better tracking on combo, like on the full release or maybe on a patch. But yeah, that is something I'm really worried about, because, that's taking up an entire weapon slot, and it's really risky to get in that close. So to have your attack opportunity wasted that way is kind of unpleasant, in my opinion. So hopefully that changes. Like, of course, I don't want melee to be too strong or overpowering, but it shouldn't just whiff entirely like that. That's really lame. Like, what point is there in having a combo weapon when the combo doesn't land? So if this keeps up, I suspect that melee weapons with very high attack that deliver on only one hit will probably be better than combo attacks. But yeah, we'll see. I really hope this changes. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention about lock. Sorry, I'm just kind of doing stream of consciousness here. But yeah, so I know about the accuracy difference between the soft lock and the hard lock. but I suspect that there will be unintended tech that comes out of the difference between this. So you remember how in Gen 5, like you'd enter scan mode, and scan mode would disable all your weapons, and you would just put all the power into your sensors and basically be like a low running mode, so you would recover energy faster. Well, the devs didn't anticipate that people would just turn on scan mode in the middle of battle just to recover energy, and so the speed in Gen 5 just kind of blew out of proportion, like in a way that the devs didn't intend, which, that was really neat, but also was really annoying to use that tech, in my personal opinion. So kind of in a similar way, I think kind of a similar tech might happen with hard and soft lock. So I think people will probably switch very often between hard and soft lock. And so they'll use hard lock to track, or when they're doing like maneuvers and stuff, and then switch over to soft lock for the greater accuracy on weapons. So yeah, this is just something I'm predicting. I can't really say for sure it's going to happen. I may not need to do it because, yeah, I don't know, I'm just going to be running machine guns and that type of horse shit. But yeah, I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I remember somebody doing like a hard lock, like lower accuracy discussion, but the footage they used to demonstrate the lower accuracy were like bazookas and grenades, which these are very low velocity rounds to begin with. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna test this out with different weapons just to make sure we're thorough. Okay, people are very worried about tanks being strong, and they have a lot of advantages in Armored Core 6. So, yeah, they're very zippy. Like, normally tanks don't have evasion powers in Armored Core, but these tanks are zippy enough where they can just walk out of the way of anything you can throw at them. Yeah, they're walking out of the way of melee, they're walking out of the way of linear rifle fire, like you saw in the 1v1. That was astonishing and horrifying to me, that linear rifles are supposed to be like high velocity rounds, and the tank was just casually walking out of the way of the rounds. Like, that was really goofy. Like what was it, Oro? Like, he threw so many rounds downrange, he hit like maybe 10% of them against a tank. That was just goofy. So yeah, I need to figure out, like, was he using soft or hard lock during that time, because there's no reason why rounds that fast should be missing a tank. Yeah, so tanks are very zippy. So of course the limitation to tanks is they can't achieve verticality very fast. They can hover, or not. They can boost up, but it's very slow. So they can ascend, but very slowly. And so tanks are going to be mostly tied to the ground. They have very efficient ground movement. And keep in mind, in Armored Core 6, your energy recovers faster when you're standing on the ground. So not only are tank legs very zippy on the ground, but they also have very efficient energy management because they're always grounded. So I think because of this, they're going to have very unintended, very, very high mobility. So I think this will probably be patched to decrease the mobility of tanks in some way. I'm guessing they will probably have higher energy consumption when they use their boosters, something like that. That's gonna depend on whether. I haven't gotten my hands on the game, so I don't know how this works with tanks. But in some of the other Armored Core games, tank legs do not have independent boosters applied to customizing the AC. The tank treads themselves have internalized boosters, which you cannot swap out. So, we need to figure that out. And then, if they have the internalized boosters, then I suspect the energy efficiency of these may be reduced to make tanks a little less zippy. In regards to tanks like having more survivability, like compared to everybody else, of course they have more AP, so they can take more hits. But on top of that, I think they're going to have. It would make sense if they had higher stagger resistance. So not only will they be more difficult to stagger, but once staggered, they will be able to absorb more damage. So yeah, the advantages in tanks are absolutely insane, like at the moment. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this will be balanced once, everybody has all the parts. Of course, there will probably be tank busting strategies. So because they're ground pounders, just like you're seeing in the footage right now, they are vulnerable to AoE attacks. So in 4, this would be things like grenade rifles or large warhead missiles or Kojima missiles and Kojima weapons. So obviously if your weapon results in a blast radius, you kind of want to be above the tank and shoot down. That way the round will burst on the ground, and then you get the AoE that will catch the tank. For some weird reason, there wasn't a lot of that being done in the PvP showcase we got. We had a ton of people using grenade cannons, and they were firing them level or firing them up at people, which is not how you use those weapons. You have to be overhead and fire down on them so that you can take advantage of the blast radius. But that was being ignored for some reason. I guess these guys just might be out of practice or something, which, that's okay. I mean, literally everyone's new at the game. I'm not asking for experts here. I'm just, pointing it out. Yeah, so tanks are very strong. I'm looking forward to people finding tank busting strategies. Yeah, I want to see some anti-air, quad busting strategies. I want to see some anti-sniper strategies. That's going to be really interesting because we didn't even see any snipers in the PvP showcase. And of course, midweights and lightweights, you just, I don't know, you just gotta break them before they break you, Yeah, okay, well, yeah, guys, I guess that's kind of all the thoughts I had. I probably missed something because, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. But yeah, hopefully, something in there kind of piqued your interest and made you curious. But yeah, I'm sure the PvP will be fine. Of course, it'll be different, but, keep an open mind. It could be fun in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I will definitely be... Yeah, I want to get all my parts first before I dabble in PvP. And yeah, so that's how I'm going to do. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this discussion. And yeah, there's a lot of material we got to cover for launching the game. But yeah, not a lot of time. But anyway, so yeah, thanks for checking this out. And yeah, like and subscribe. Subscribe if you want to see future content. We'll definitely be covering the game. I'll be live streaming it and creating some standalone videos for it. So yeah, look forward to that in the future. Alright, well, that'll be it for now, and thanks for checking it out, and we'll see you next time. Later.